Howdy guys, it's Luke at Luke's Affordable Painting Service, and in this video I'm going to show you how to paint a board pretty quickly, and there's a couple of different techniques I've never done before. Right, so this is literally the painting stage. It's getting the base colours down and the washes. The rest of the weathering and detailing you do at the very end. Alright, so this is like what you do before you start doing all your ground covering and flocking. This is so you can get all the nice colours down so you can see what you're working with. Okay, takes about 45 minutes this step. There's a couple of things in it that I've never done on camera before, so it's things you won't have seen me do, so I thought it would be a good video just to explain this painting step because it's quite important to do it this way. Alright guys, so sit back, relax and enjoy part 3. Twa. Right, so as always, start with a dark colour. Now I'm starting with black. For buildings like this, if you're going for different colours, you can start with like a dark brown or dark blue and use the same other colours that I use in this to get a more like richer colour in the base colour. But I'm going with black because I'm going to be using some coloured greys. Now these are the colours that I'm going to be using. Wolf grey, uniform grey, and what's that, necrotic flesh from Army Painter. So when painting with spray cans, hold them further away than you usually would and start dusting the model. As you see, as I start doing this, it starts catching, leaving the lower recesses shaded. Okay, and you can get that sort of really nice patchy look. So just as I'm doing there, little bursts of spray from a distance, up and down, so you get your desired effect. If you do make a mistake and spray it on a bit too heavy and get rid of your shading, all you've got to do is spray the area black again, or the base colour that you've used, and then go on with this colour again to fix it. It's not hard. Right. When spraying underneath the buildings, just aim downwards. The overspray will do underneath the floor, but that gives like a natural shading. So just point the can, aiming down, and you'll get some natural shading. Nice and easy. As you can see, the lower parts are nice and pale, whereas the above parts have got some natural dark shading on there. Right, going on to some wolf grey. I like using this because it adds a bit of colour to the concrete, rather than it being, if you look at concrete, there's all sorts of browns and greys and greens and all sorts in it, so it just richens them up a bit rather than being cold. So yeah, be less, cover this a lot less than you would with the normal grey, but it's just to get some splashes of colour on the concrete base. As I'm spraying this on, I'm getting rather happy with the look, so I'm going to miss out the necrotic flesh because that's got quite a green to the cream, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use like a brownie cream that's a lot paler from a company called Montana Gold. The reason I'm using this is it's a nice highlight, and it's like quite a stony cream. With this, spray from even further away and literally just catch from above. You don't want to be spraying this from down low and filling in all the work you've already done. But as you can see, it gets very dusty because they're a high acrylic can, same as the Army Painter ones, but you get a really nice effect with them. If you get any splashes or sprays, which you can get with these sort of cans sometimes, it looks like bird shit. So I mean, if you want to leave it on there, leave it on there. If you don't like it, go back to the can that you've just used and hide it. Simple as. Same as before, spray down, get your natural shading. Now this is from Montana as well. This colour is called Marble. I like using this. Army Painter don't do a can this colour, and I struggle to find an ivory spray can. I don't like using white as a highlight. The ivory is a lot nicer because it's not too much. I mean, we are washing it down, so if you can't get hold of a marble spray can or an ivory spray can, just use white and make sure you wash it down afterwards. What I'm doing with the uniform grey is where it's just gone a bit pale, I'm just dusting a bit more of the uniform grey over it just to darken it up where I've gone a bit heavy with the white. So that's all I'm doing there, just fixing a mistake, and that's how easy it is. And while you're doing this, don't forget to do your rubble, because you want the rubble roughly the same colour as your building. Right, now on to washers. This is my own black wash that I make using matte medium and black ink and a bit of flow aid. I mix this down with water just because you don't want it to go on too thick, and what you're doing is just blast this all over the building with the airbrush, and then what we do later is we actually come back and blow a lot of this off with water. Okay, but what this is doing, it acts as like a glaze, so you're getting a really nice covering. You're putting it on quite thick, as you can see, but it does drop into all the details and recesses. If it looks a bit streaky and a bit messy, don't worry about it, we'll fix that in a sec. But it's just a nice, quick, easy way of applying your wash and not putting it on too thick. Now what I'm doing is I've just got water in the airbrush. It looks a bit mucky because it's got some residual wash in there, but it's just neat water, and I'm spraying that over the top. And what I'm looking for is any like where the wash is collecting or it's being a bit thick, as I'm just blowing it away with the water, and the water makes it streak down, as you can see. One adds a bit of weathering, a bit of running surfaces, but it's ever so delicate, so it doesn't look over the top. Right, I'll show you a bit closer up, just because I don't think that was as good as what it could have been. But as you can see, I'm putting the wash on here. This wash is a little bit darker. I've not watered it down as much as the last one, but it doesn't matter. Just spray it on all over. It does look like I'm covering it in a black primer again. I'm not. You'll start seeing the wash starting to settle and run down the building. You do find this when you airbrush washers, they do seem to go on a bit like paint, but with a wash being a wash, with having that bit of flow aid in and everything else, they start to run down the walls, which we're going to accentuate that with the water in a second. While you're doing your buildings though, don't forget to do all your rubble, because you want that roughly the same colour as the buildings. Right, so now put your water in your airbrush. There's a little bit of washing, it don't matter. And as you can see, that wash has already run down quite a bit. What we're going to do now is we're just going to spray water onto the building, and look what's happening. Can you see it moving? I know my airbrush is in the way, but you get the runs, you get it thinning it down, and you get some really nice weathering. And because of how the wash works as well, the darker bits drop to the bottom, so it looks really nice. You get like a really nice dark bottom, and as it's getting close to the top, it naturally highlights it. I love this technique. You can do it a completely different way as well, which I'll show you in a second, to get the same effects if you don't have an airbrush. But as you can see, it's a very nice, simple process. I mean, I'm no pro with an airbrush, but for doing washers and things like this on big terrain pieces, it just makes life so much easier. Right, now we're going to be using some strong tone from Army Painter. You could mix your own, but I've got this to hand, and it's a really good wash. My washes aren't as good as this, so that's why I'm using it for this step. But just put it on neat. As you can see, the Army Painter wash is pretty thick, okay, and it doesn't run that well on a flat surface, and that's why I'm using it. But what we do is we go back to just using water, and then you brush the water over the top, and it gives it like a nice sort of brown filter on the bottom. Now it doesn't really show up very well on camera till it's dry. The pictures at the end, you'll really see the brown filter over the top of the greys, so don't dismiss this yet. Wait till you see the pictures and you'll understand how the colour works. It's a very subtle look, but in person it looks great. Now I'm just going back to a black wash and I'm just running it all over the rubble because it's looking a bit pale. We do dry brush this up later as well, so don't worry if it's a little bit darker than your building. We will get it to blend in a little bit later. Right, so I'm just getting some grey craft paint and I'm going to dry brush this all over the rubble. It's a good craft paint this, it's from the works, they're about £1 each roughly and last forever because I only really use them for dry brushing. But as you can see, biggish brush, get your paint off, dry brush all over your rubble to accentuate it, and then we'll go over that with a cream just to give it a natural highlight. And then when we come to doing as finished product, I'll show you what to do with weathering powders and everything else later. Okay, this is the cream that I'm using, again from the works. It's craft paint, good quality, nice and thick, easy to dry brush with. With dry brushing though, make sure your brush is dirty from before so you can get a natural blend from the original colour. Get as much off as you can, test it on your hand because you don't want a big blob of cream in the middle of your rock. So just make sure you're putting a gentle amount on, brush it soft, multiple directions. If you knock any stones off, if you knock any bricks off, if it's not in an integral part or it looks a bit weird without it, you know, re-stick it down with some super glue, or if it's not that important, just ignore it. You know, it'll probably get stuck down again with the ceiling when we're doing the ground covers, or if it's just getting in the way, just throw it off your table. Right, so I've settled for a sand colour for the board, for like the main ground scatter. Now all the areas where the rubble isn't, or you know, where it's not been painted, just make sure you get a base colour down of a rough soil colour. So whether that's brown, whether that's grey, whether that's black, whether that's, you know, the sand colours. I took a pot of Xandri dust to the paint. Paint mixers a long time ago, and I bought 5 litres of it, and I've had this for a good 12 months, and it's my main base colour for when I do anything sandy. So as you can see, just paint that all over to give you a base colour to work on top of. Don't worry, go round everywhere, it doesn't have to be neat this, because we'll do all the integral blending with the ground covers. This is just literally to get a rough colour in the areas where the sand's mainly going to be. Where the grey areas are, don't worry about it, we'll blend that in with the ground covering, and if we've got any of that sand colour on any of the grey areas where we don't want it, we can paint it back grey, or we can use grey ground covering to help blend it back. Okay, so a lot of techniques in coverings which we'll discuss in the next video. So that's it, I hope you've liked it, and I'll show you a couple of pictures of that colour that I meant from the brown wash. So as you can see, you've got like a nice greeny brown tinge to the overall concrete, and I just love the way it looks. That model's a Praetorian Guard from the 90s as an element of scale, so you can really see how big this stuff is. It looks awesome. So it's starting to come together, isn't it? It's starting to look like a really nice board. I know the sand base colour looks a bit obscure at the minute. It will all make sense when the ground coverings and everything start going down. You're just getting the core colour down so you don't have to put as much covering on, and then you can blend your transition. We'll also use some grey ground covers to help blend back in the other way as well. So there's a lot of blending with coloured ground coverings, which I'll go into more details and everything in that video in part 4. I'm hoping I can get it all in to 4 videos. It might stretch over to 5th depending on how crazy I go with sandbags and fortifications and all that sort of stuff, but we'll see when we get there. Alright guys, if you've liked this video, like, share and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, please check out all my scenery supplies beneath, and that's from foam flocks, static grasses, glues, just everything you could possibly need, and it's ever growing. Alright guys, so thanks for your help, and I'll see you again soon.